Good night, my people. Blessings. Welcome to another episode of All Over It podcast. Welcome today, January 19th, 2025. 2026. Oh gosh, you see? Nah, we in the past, we in the future now. Today, we in the future self. Today, episode 38, we talking about future things. We living in the future now. The things we used to watch in the past that was futuristic is where we is now. Yeah. But yeah, welcome. Love alone, my people. Blessings. I appreciate you for taking the time out as per usual. You know, I always have to give you appreciation for your viewership because, like I always say, without you, is no All Over It podcast. So of course, I always gotta big up my boy David in the chat. Yeah. Look, I was a teller, yo. Me and David certified. I can't forget that. But anyways, my people, if you want me to shout you out, let me know where you are, where you're tuning in from, and I'm gonna shout you out for sure. See a little comment in the chat. But yeah, as you know, we are on a journey to get the YouTube side of things to 1,000 subscribers. So tell a friend to tell a friend, you know, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all of that YouTube, social media stuff, all that good stuff. Yeah. But you don't know. Whatever it is, love or know. Today, like I say, is a good one. Can you tell the excitement? Can you tell? Today, episode 38, we're talking about enhancing agricultural productivity using unmanned aerial systems. Good night, Rita. Blessings. Thanks for joining. Welcome, my people. Like I say, leave the comments. Let me know who they are. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Trust me, we got a good one in store. Promise you that. You must leave here with some type of knowledge, some type of inspiration tonight for sure. And I ain't gonna waste none of your time. I ain't wasting no time. I about to bring on our guest in a few seconds, but just know we talking about something big. Any of you who is my regular viewers know I'm very passionate about agriculture. I love that. I grew up in that. That's why I'm about. I am a tech man too. I actually, from a good bit of my work experiences, IT. I have a degree in computer science. Good. So, I like tech too. I like technology. So this here today is like me, just all me, just wrapped up in a bow. I tell you. But even like a few weeks ago, I got the opportunity to use a drone myself. And honestly, it really nice. Let me just summarize it like that, But anyways, like I say, I ain't wasting no time. Today, we here to talk about agriculture and drones and how drones pushing agriculture. I'm giving it to you in layman terms. Enhancing agricultural productivity with drones. And I will no longer have you in suspense. I want to introduce my good friend, Devon Mercury, who recently completed his master's. And this topic is what his research paper was on, specifically enhancing agricultural productivity in least developing countries using unmanned aerial systems. So, with no further ado, allow me to welcome my friend, Devon Mercury, and let's get right into things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, my boy. Blessings.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Oh, I appreciate you for coming on, taking the time to grace us and just allowing us to gain this knowledge and this insight about what you went down a rabbit hole on.
Yeah.
So,
And to the virtual
like,
audience, good evening as well. Sorry. Just to the virtual audience, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
amen to that, amen to that. So, yeah, like I say, I ain't wasting nobody time. We can dive right into things. And I can just ask you, for those tuning in, tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, your background, and what you study.
Okay. So I was born and raised in the British Virgin Islands. Um, my early part of my days I spent accompanying my mom at the airport. She worked at the airport for over a decade. So I was around aircrafts, been in the airport, traveling with us. I developed a passion for aviation at a very young age. Um, did my primary and secondary education in the BVI, and during my secondary education, I got the opportunity to do a few summer gigs at the airport, at the airport authority, and I was attached to the operations department. And during those times, um, I knew that something about being at the airport, something around being aircraft. I knew that this is something that I could pursue. I could see myself doing for a very long time. After completing my secondary education, there wasn't much opportunities in aviation on the island, so you had to study abroad. Um,
How that go?
I actually, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just say I know how that go. Continue.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually had put aside aviation, and I was studying. I started studying architecture, right? But there wasn't any drive there. I wasn't motivated, and that didn't really work out, right? So I got the opportunity to study abroad, and which led me to Florida Memorial University, and of course that's where we cross paths, right? Flomo for life, right?
Yep.
And obtain a Bachelor of Science in Aviation Management, minor in aviation safety as well. And then after graduating, I got an opportunity to work at Signature Flight Support at the Opalaka Airport, which is literally right across the fence if you're familiar with the Opalaka area. So I actually felt like I was still going to school while I was working. Right? But yeah, I did. I worked there for 1 year, and after that, I moved back to the Virgin Islands, where I worked as a duty manager at the local authority for a number of years as well. And then I um, continued with my academic studies, moved back to the US, and I pursued a Master of Science in Aviation, specializing in operations.
Sounds good, sounds good. And that's where you completed your master's in. So, congratulations on that, firstly. And I was going to ask you what drew you to aviation, but you basically kind of answer that question. Like you say, you used to go to work with your mom and thing, and being in that environment got you, you know, gave you that passion for that field. And that's a nice way to get into it too. So out of all the topics you could have researched, why agriculture? Why drones in agriculture specifically?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I had an interest in none of the above.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't have an interest in agriculture, and I didn't necessarily had such a big interest in drones. Um, so one of the requirements that I had to satisfy to graduate was I had to do a research project, right, addressing a real world problem, right? And I was encouraged before I take the research class to come up with a topic, start brainstorming so that when you get into that class, It's probably a bit more smooth sailing and so forth. So semester ended, still didn't come up with a topic, trying to wrap my head around some kind of research that I could do. What can I address? What problems can I address? And couldn't come up with anything. I was kind of pondering on different things, but I wanted something to come to me organically, right? So during the break, I visited my family in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And if you know anything about St. Vincent and the Grenadines, agriculture is a way of life for them down there, right? That's something that they've been practicing for decades. That's something that I've seen them doing all my life. Um, so while I was there, my family said that they're going to basically walk land, meaning do some agriculture. So my curiosity ignited, and I decided that I want to go and see what I could do. Probably put some of my physical skills to test, see how much I could contribute and things like that.
One of them
Now the
ones.
first thing that now the first thing that they said to me was it's going to be a 4 a.m. start,
Right.
right? So that means that you're up by 3, you're out the house by 3:30, you're ready to walk at 4 a.m., right? Got there at 4 a.m. and they immediately got into it. And I was amazed as to how much they was able to do with limited resources, right? But what for me was one of the things that really stood out for me was the 4 a.m. start, right? And it's the reason why they said that they start at so early is because the work is so labor intensive. You want to get the heavy lifting done before the sun
For the sun.
peaks, right?
Abs-
So thinking about that was reflecting, and I was like, if I was to take this over, um, how can I contribute? What can I do? Right? What can I bring to the table? How can I help my family, produce more?
Mhm.
So I started thinking about, well, aviation is my thing. So how could I bring aviation? How could I merge aviation and agriculture together?
Mhm.
And then I had a full circle moment because I remember visiting the island in my younger days. I remember seeing an aircraft, well, a number of aircraft flying over fields of banana and fields of different type of agriculture, right, and spraying whatever it may be. And I said, oh, so there has been a long-standing relationship between agriculture and aviation, right? And I thought about, okay, why not me trying to bring drones right into the picture, modernizing these practices, right, and seeing how best I can help. Fast forward to the beginning of the semester, took the idea back to my professor, and I was like, well, I have this idea where I want to help my family members um, produce more with agriculture and drones. And he was like, well, yes, it's not a bad idea, but I think you might run into some issues in terms of collecting data, right? Seeing that is not so much profound as yet in the islands. So I started doing some research and trying to like figure out, trying to refine my topic and trying to put together something, which led me to the United Nations website, and I came across least developed countries, right? And I realized that a lot of the challenges that they were faced with was similar to what we was experiencing in the Caribbean region, and I felt like those practices could have been adaptable. So the least developed country, and you'll hear me use the term LDC throughout the discussion. Just
LDC.
short
Okay.
LDC, short of least developed country. And the one country that was in LDC that is considered a LDC is Haiti, right? And I felt that Haiti, their needs right now is greater than agriculture, right? So I decided to focus on eight countries in 8 countries total, seven in Africa and one in Asia, right? Being Bangladesh. So that's kind of what led me to agriculture and drones.
Okay. 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 Totally understand. And I was going to ask you too, you know, if there was a moment during your studies where this topic really clicked and you said like, yeah, this is what I have to do, this is what matters. But basically you share that there just now too. And even like how you mentioned the planes that used to fly over and spray the pesticide and thing, that bring back nostalgia self. I remember back in the days they used to either have the planes, or in St. Maarten sometimes they used to have the trucks that used to come drive around. They used to come tell you like maybe a few weeks before, yeah, close up your windows and thing, and they coming wrong and they pesticide in the whole neighborhood and thing. But that's I'll say a commendable direction you took, and your reasoning was great. And I'll say, although your focus in your research paper was more those other countries on the other side of the world, for sure, these practices and the use of these technologies to advance our agricultural productivity is also possible. It's not to say specific for over on those sides or those regions of the world. So, in simple terms, how would you describe the current state of agriculture in many developing or least developing countries, LDCs, as you call it?
Yeah, so we work with the LDCs. We ain't
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the developed countries because they done ahead of we already. So we trying to catch up. So
True.
in LDCs, um, a large percentage of the population is actually employed by agriculture, right? But productivity is unfortunately low, right? And there's a number of attributing factors that we could say. One is limited technology, right? One is the environmental stress, and one is not having the support by the government, right? So those are some of why productivity is necessarily low in these agriculture and in these LDCs. And but what I found interesting is the hidden economic potential within these LDCs, right? And that's what I kind of want to highlight right now. So these LDCs, um, and I'll give you two case studies that I kind of looked at. One in Ethiopia, right? Ethiopia is said to be the fifth um, largest provider of Arabic coffee, right, in the world, right?
Okay.
Yet still, there's a heavy reliance on importation for agricultural goods, right? Why is that? Because they're not able to capitalize on the other um, producers that they might have access to as well, right? Bangladesh is another example I'll give you. They're one of the leading producers of rice in the world as well, but they
Mhm.
still heavily rely on importation for agricultural goods, right, to provide. So overall, the LDC climate, there is potential in the LDC climate for agriculture, but there's a lot of hidden potential that is untapped.
Honestly, you say that and you even get me thinking, but I could understand. I could understand it because even like, let me say you're a country that may be selling banana, but then your country ain't only eating banana, you still need to get bread, you still, you need all these other things too, so you can be important. But like you say, based on what you just say, like I say, get me thinking like it's just making the right shift, making the right decisions to now kind of propel yourself forward because you already have, like you say, the potential. So let me say, consider it like this, using those cases that you use. Let me say you talk about Ethiopia with the coffee. They already have fields that they cultivate in. Maybe they could use a portion of maybe one of those fields to more produce something else that would be more beneficial for them type of vibe. Also, even here in St. Martin, we heavily reliant on import as well. And it's like, okay, when you plant something in to say like it gonna just eradicate all your imports, but at least it lessening that percentage, which helping you in the long run, no matter how you turn it or twist it, you know. So even if let me say now because you have more chickens, you could reduce your import of eggs by 10%. That's a start. That's a start in a positive direction. Let me just put it like that. You know? So I I agree with you, and I like that. And just want to take a little quick pause to say, Tess in the chat, say congratulations on your
Okay, big up
masters.
Tess. Big up Tess.
You know,
Big up
blessings,
Tess.
Tess. Thanks for joining. One of my, I think day one, like from day one,
Okay. It's from St.
he
Martin.
was. No, actually from the States. So she's
Okay.
closer to you than she is to me. And then
Okay.
good night, Ruby. Blessings. Ruby is from St. Martin, yes.
Okay.
But yeah. And then Carol in the chat saying good night and bless up. Don't know, you don't know. But yeah. To move forward, like I say, I ain't wasting on your time. Man. We on the ball. We come here to handle business. And we getting down to business. And yeah, as you just mentioned, in what you just say, you mentioned about low productivity, labor intensity, and limited technology. I'll ask you, why do you think these problems persist for so long?
Well, these LDCs are categorized as LDCs because the infrastructure, the
I would,
infrastructure is
they had
uh,
a comment, another comment. Somebody say, we here too. Big up Business TV. Bless up. No, no.
yeah,
Sorry about
yeah,
that. Sorry for cutting you off.
yeah. So they have weak infrastructure, right? These LDCs, they have weak infrastructure, limited funding, right? Inconsistent policies, and honestly, they're generally not aware, right, that agriculture and aviation goes together. And also, the government, to be honest, only allocates probably about 3% of their funding towards agriculture, right? So that leave because of low productivity, right? It leaves it leaves farmers with a less amount to invest and actually further produce or create or produce more crops, right? So those are I think the main reasons why we see the persistence of these problems.
I I agree with that. And I would say, even referring to here, Martin, last year, 2024, island budget, agriculture had allocated to it about 62,000 guilders, which to give you an easy conversion is
Rapid
like,
than USD for me.
so that why I say to give you an easy conversion is like 2 to 1, meaning like, you know, guilders is 2 and US is 1. So that's
Okay,
like
half.
half. So like let me say 31,000 just average, just to give. It's a little in exactly that, but yeah. And imagine in a budget of millions, I think how much your budget was last year? I want to say 300 something million. Something like some big number. Let me just say. So imagine from millions, you say, man, we only gonna put 30 something thousand towards that, man. We need that. But at least I could say, God bless. There has been efforts to advance the sector, and let me say our current minister has been doing things, and our current administration has been putting things in place. Like for instance, I was the presenter for Agri Loan Info session that they had here, which basically that entity providing loans up to 50,000 US, just clarify, for farmers with a rate of 2%, which most farmers, chicken man, I should be giving we that money so we could advance the sector and thing, which to extent I agree, but to extent I understand where they're coming from too, because it's like the sector ain't really set up here. Like, let me say, like how you refer to St. Vincent. Like you say, they've been doing that for decades. They got a Department of Agriculture set up. They already structured. We now trying to build a structure. So it's like I could come and just say, yeah, giving out money for agriculture. Everybody gonna come say, yeah, there's a farmer. But then the money gonna blow, and then you gonna see no real advancement in productivity, and then you'll still be in the same boat. So their reasoning was, okay, we're gonna provide it as a loan first to see who really serious, and then anything else that come online that more beneficial, more, fruitful, then these would be the first people in line because we know that they're really serious. So, anyways, I say that to say I agree with you. That's probably one of the most top reasons why you don't really advance and why these issues does persist, because it don't look productivity, and the people doing it don't really get no inspiration or motivation to do it because on the island wide side ain't got no importance for it. So yeah, I agree with you.
And also just to add to, the government have to start making these projects capital projects, right? Like you said, they put a lot of these agriculture and other stuff too on the backbone as well, but they have to start putting them on the forefront. And I think this is why this is important today. This discussion is important today to raise that awareness, and hopefully this they just don't fall on deaf ears.
Facts, totally agree. And I'll say like this: everybody talking about food security right now, and food security, of course, is important, and that's something that we need to really start thinking about. Like, even if I ain't to say like, yeah, a farmer in St. Maarten have to be the one doing it. Like, it could be you too. It could be you just having a pepper, a little lemongrass, a little anything you to use. Once you can minimize that need for running to the shop or it having to come from somewhere else, that's positive. And like you say, these things is what could help us to advance things even further and put a little ease on us too. So to move on, like just like touching on the same topic you just mentioned, a lot of people don't realize how central agriculture still is to these economies. So why is improving productivity such a big deal, just beyond just more food?
Well, food security is important, right? I think that's first and foremost, right? Because I mean, the less we rely on um, importation of agricultural good, then the more we can actually feed our people, the more we can actually become economically independent, right?
Sustainable.
And with that being said, when a country could feed itself, right, then the money that we would have spent or disbursed on importation, we could now pump that money into education, right? We could now pump that money into infrastructure. We could now pump that money into healthcare. So it's just there's a ripple effect on more productivity. It ain't just food security, right? So we could actually use that money, like I said, and do more with it.
Facts. Facts. Like I say, everything is connected, and if you really pay attention, like you say, you might think, okay, yeah, we focus on this, but then you won't realizing how that affecting the other parts as well. So I totally agree. I totally agree. So let me talk about drones. When people hear drones in agriculture, what do you, I'll say, what do they usually imagine and what's the reality?
Well, I can't speak for everybody. I could speak for me. So,
Mhm.
actually, I didn't in drones and agriculture. I never tied together up until prior to this research. Right.
Right.
When I hear drones, I think on taking pictures. I think on capturing videos, and persons may want to think about surveillance. Right. So I actually
Mhm.
never tied the two together. So one of the things that I did with my research was I conducted a survey, right? And my survey was geared towards capturing a few information. And one of them was general awareness and knowledge. And I wouldn't say to my surprise, but the awareness and the knowledge of drones and agriculture, those results came in very low, meaning that persons were actually aware that there is a relationship between the two, right? So I think that again, this podcast here today, hopefully this can raise some awareness and actually get persons actually thinking and doing some research and attract some people towards agriculture and towards aviation.
True. That's true. And to that same point, I could say personally, even me being so deep in agriculture, I wasn't so abreast to it up until maybe some months ago, like late in, I'll say like maybe beginning of last year. That's when I really come into the knowledge of that, you know? And even in my presentation, I spoke about like the future of agriculture, which rightfully is now. And I spoke about how like they got robots harvesting, and I during that research I checking like wow, they got drones and things flying over, doing different things. So even for me, it was a epiphany realization, like wow, okay. And like I tell you, resonates so deep with me because it's like agriculture, computer, what a union, what a matrimony. Yeah. So my next question to you would be what are some of the main things drones can help farmers do better today?
Yeah. So in my paper, I focus on, and there's a number of, there's a laundry list of things that they can help them do. But for my paper, I focus on pest management, right? Irrigation, crop yields, right? And crop monitoring, right? So those are some of the areas that I mainly focus on in my paper.
Sound good, sound good, sound good, sound good. Yeah, like I say, when I do my research, I'll even mention when I really start checking it out, it bring me to the DJI website because most anybody who really familiar with drones should be familiar with DJI. That's like
Number
the
one brand.
most popular, yeah, number
Yeah,
one brand right now. Kind of different drones and different cameras and thing they have. So as I say, I had used a drone and it was a nice experience. But then when I further my research and I see what DJI self have like a whole section for agriculture, whole line of drones just for agriculture. I check in like, oh, you're not.
yeah.
We playing no games, man. We doing things. We in things. So if big DJI could say for themselves, you know what? We gotta make drones specific for agriculture. That ain't saying something. Why people from here can't see for themselves like what this agriculture thing is a serious thing, man. If these big people seeing it, why we can't see it? Because just like you say, I do my research and it say, like you say, monitoring crops, detecting pests, managing irrigation, and estimating yields. And in my research, it was so eye-opening because I check in for me, things that I've been struggling to do or trying to set up certain systems to alleviate for myself. The drone could do it. Like irrigation. Right now, I'm in the process of setting up a drip irrigation in my garden. And if I had that drone, I could have just put my water in the drone. Pest management. You know what it is? A drone flying around, like I say, it does monitor your crops, it does check plant health, so to make
Mm-hmm.
sure your plant healthy and ain't getting harassed, you got the soil ain't too moist or it ain't dry and all these things. Good. But also, this drone, when it flying and checking your plant and checking to make sure it's healthy, it looking for pests. And if you see like a little white fly, you look, any of my agriculturalists and my gardeners know how small and minuscule these white flies and aphids and spider mites and all these things be. And imagine a drone
Mm-hmm.
flying around detecting these pests, little mini things on your plant and zapping it away. But
And then ultimately what I do, that saves time, right? Most importantly, and save money,
for
right?
sure.
Because all the pest detection, if you could pick that up, um, like you're saying, all you have, or when you start into before you actually could spread, before them pests could actually spread, then you save your time, you save all the effort that you would have put in, and so forth. So that in itself is a plus when it comes
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
pest detection, right? Irrigation, um, you having to set up a drip system. Now you could actually set up a drone now, fly over your crops and disperse water, right, to your liking or what is necessary for you. So yeah, drones. Then there's a plus. There's a plus in agriculture. There's a plus in agriculture.
For sure, for sure, for sure. One thing I found interesting in your research is the efficiency. You know, how much time and labor can drones realistically save compared to traditional methods? So, um, so I was going to ask you if you could give me a simple real world example of how a drone flight could replace days of manual field work. But as somebody, me, who
As a
is
farmer.
boots on the ground in this,
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
know about,
Yeah, yeah,
I could tell you from
yeah.
my
I have a
personal
number I could
experience.
give you. I have a figure that I could give you what a resource say to me. Um, drones could actually cut back labor by 60%, right? So that's more than
See,
half the work,
good. So
right?
you
Drones,
imagine you save more than half your time. So if
right,
you was going out and you spending, let me say, an hour in your garden, now it's 30 minutes. If you spending
right,
2 hours, now it's an hour. You
right.
check?
So what
And
I means, what I means is you save time, you save money, right? You have more time now to spend with your family, loved ones. You actually have more time now to actually invest into something else, right? Whether it
yeah,
may be studies, whether you might need more homework time with your kids, right? Whatever the case may be. So 60% is a significant amount.
Even if it was 25%, my brother, but like I say, like for me, even now, on a daily basis, I'll get up, do my morning routine, and then I'll go outside in the garden. And like on a light day, I'll maybe just pass through, maybe spend a 30 minutes to an hour, but then some days, when you got harder work to do, you're there a while. So yeah, like I say, I could imagine. For me, I already envision myself having one of these drones, packing it up, let me say, on my roof or somewhere in the backyard, and then every day on schedule, it just fly up, go water everything, and then check, make sure everything healthy, make sure no pests there. Like I was saying, I think I need to talk to these people who making these things, because I need one of these drones that could detect iguana too, and zap iguana too. Cause then look, when they do that, look, first of all, St. Martin gonna be the number one customer. Second of all, look, everything locking after that. No. Look, they can't stop we again after that. No. Once iguana can't come, well, monkey too, they'll come harass as
Monkey.
well. Yeah, we got monkey here too. Yeah. And
Okay.
they like wild, basically. So they'll come if you got your garden, they'll come ramstack your stuff on numerous occasions. Let me say, like, on three separate occasions, I planted sweet corn seeds and they grew up nice, come up nice stock. And shortly before the corn was full and ready to harvest, they come, break out everything. And how a monkey is, because what did they do? They pick most things young before it full. And like I say, the corn, they just break it out to break up the tree and everything. And then they eat half, throw down the rest. So they don't even say, yeah, we gotta eat everything. Because if you eating it, you eating everything, right or wrong? Good. They cutting style on you. But anyways, like I say, I could see, whereas for myself, I envision I have one a day, and it taking off and doing most of the checks I just do for myself. So like I said, saving time. And even if I decide, what, I still want to be there and, let me say, go check on my things and be in the garden and thing, I still could do that. But now I don't have to. It ain't to say like a mandatory, yeah, you have to go, and if you don't go, they ain't surviving and thing. No, it's like it's a choice now. You could go and just enjoy the environment as opposed to, okay, yeah, it's work. So yeah, I I agree with you, and I just want to mention a couple people who checking. Yeah, we still here. Big up yourself, cause Miguel. Yeah, 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 yeah. Appreciate you for joining. Good night, TM Jonathan. Blessings. As he say, great interview with Sir Devon. You get knighted tonight, my brother. And yeah, involve your family with your project. I agree. Yeah, things like these is good to have your children in for sure. Like especially if you have chickens and thing or these things, those is good. Activities to family time activities. I agree. So moving on, your research talks a lot about precision agriculture. What does that term mean in everyday language?
Precision agriculture means doing the right thing, right, at the right time, um, in the right place, right? So drones have the ability, like we say, to detect pests, right? So versus you walk in the fields, row by row, whatever the case may be. The drone could actually pinpoint where you should focus on, right? Soil
Yeah.
fertility, right? The drone could actually now say, hey, your soil to the north of your property is probably more fertile than the soil to the south of you. So you could actually focus on. You probably need to see how you could
Right.
improve the soil, or how you could gain more out of or you could gain more yield more crops from the north, right? It could detect pests, so like the iguanas that you're having, right? It could say, hey, you probably need to pay more attention probably to your fence, right? This is where part of the iguanas coming in, or like you mentioned, monkeys. So, or from an irrigation perspective, you can also say, hey, I think that these set of crops, right, getting more water than these set of crops. So precision farming is putting you to do the right thing at the right time. That's basically what precision farming is.
I like that. I like that. Like how you say that, made me think on like just right. Like not
Yeah.
too much, not too little bit, just right. We always just optimal levels with everything all the time. I like that. I like that. I like that. So you wasting watering because now you got your drip system doing too long, or like you say, you're on top of things with the pests because you know now where to look for them because it pinpoint, okay, in on this side is where it's seeing it starting up, so you could deal with that before it become a problem. And like I say, precision, because now it's giving you things in the right timing and everything just on point. I like that. So
Listen, and that tie into the 60%, right?
yeah, for sure.
Right? That tie
For
into this.
sure.
So versus, probably going to try to know you there scratching your head trying to figure out by where again this problem from, or how I could rectify or address these problems, right? The drone collecting that data, right, could provide that information to you in seconds. So
Facts. Facts.
yeah.
I tell you, I like it. I like it. 'Cause even like how you talk about like the soil fertility and soil health and thing. Right now, I've been in the process of, let me say, like strengthening back the soil in my garden area too. Because for those who don't know, you shouldn't have exposed soil in your garden. You know, you want some type of ground cover at all times. So that's something I've been working on. But like you say, the drone would be able to fly up and say, "Bye, look, Oliver, if you plant that tree over there in this corner, it's gonna grow the best." So let me say you checking, you got a nice mango variety you want to grow optimally. You want to make sure it grow and you could get it in 2 years instead of three. It can tell you, look, if you plant it right by the corner, your bung, the water just soaking in right there, perfect, and it getting the right nutrients that can just shoot up. Yeah, man, look, I love it. I don't know about you. I love it. I love it. So, how does the data collected by drones actually help farmers make better decisions? So, I guess like we just talked about, but if you have any other.
Yeah, well, I could sum it up. I'll sum it up by saying they put farmers in a more proactive environment than a reactive environment, right? So to speak. So by you utilizing the drone, right, versus probably catching a pest late,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
versus your crops sorry drying up, right. Versus like you say you have overexposed soil. Drones could tell you that early, right? Versus being reactive and then you're probably not getting much out of your crops. So that's one
So,
way how. But those are a number of ways how drone data could improve farmers' decisions.
so my next question tie more into AI. But I would say this ties nicely into AI and automation. So I'll ask you, how do you see drone data being combined with AI tools in the future?
That's a good question. Um, I see it being practical. Reason being, AI, what AI provide to us is um, instant. It's an instant resource. It's an instant tool that we can use, right? That saves time. So I think that ties in perfectly with analyzing the data for the drones, right? The drones now could actually collect the data, consume the raw data, AI process the data, and then farmers can now look at that data, right, and make decisions rather sooner than later.
I feel you. Like you say that, probably the technology they're using with them drones probably is AI. So, like you say that. But good point, good point. So, do you see a future where farms are monitored more by systems and analytics than by walking the fields every day? Thank you.
That's a good question, and I don't want to put any misconceptions out there because I still believe that farming, traditional farming, is an art, right? And I don't want drones to necessarily take over farming practices, right? I believe that that skill should remain, right? I believe that that's what farmers should be appreciated for. So I don't necessarily want AI to come in and overshadow shadow that aspect of farming, right? But I do believe that AI, drones, and whatever else is out there on the horizon, whatever other technologies out there on the horizon, is going to be more into play more integral role in agriculture.
I think so too. And something is serious that resonates very deeply with me. You say traditional farming is an art. And I guess I never think about it. Like after hearing the sentence put together, I check in by, for real, you know. But I like that. I like that point you just made. And very true. Like of course nowadays they got hydroponic systems and those things, and they have a lot of different like sensors and analytics and things to they say like parameters and things they use to indicate what they need. But I like what you say. Like basically what you say is like you could never take out the human out of it.
And I'll add a bit more to that. So one of the classes that I did was human factors. So I have an appreciation, and I always lobby on behalf of the human aspect. And when it comes to AI and drones, yes, um, is they're exciting to talk about. Yes, they reduce labor by 60%, but what if they fail? Right? What do we fall back on? Right? What do we have? So we can fall back on those core competencies that we have, the core skills that you learn, right? Walking the fields, um, getting up early, right? Probably using the sun as your day. Wherever those skills that you were taught, right, is what you will have to rely back on. So that's why I don't want to put any misconceptions out there and have it seems like AI and drones is going to take over.
No, yeah, and I'm glad that you say that because, like I say, when I had the presentation I did, and I spoke about like these advancements in agriculture, I remember they had one guy in particular. He checking like, nah, he don't like them thing. He don't like robot and drone and thing doing he garden and dealing with he farm because I taking the love out of it and thing. But I checking, bro. I wouldn't say that because you could still go love up on your plants still. Just so I tell you, like if you want, you could still go in your garden and love up on it. It's just making your life easier. No, you don't have to go do the work like that, you know. But like you say, no matter what, you're gonna need the human factor. And even what you just say make me think on something like on a broader, more general aspect. Like, you know, a lot of people are so reliant on computer and automation and AI and these things. And don't get me wrong, now, like I say, I'm a computer man. I have a degree in this, but I believe in real, natural, organic experiences. I believe in like, you know, not everything on a computer. I believe in writing things on paper still and all these type things, you know. So like you say, you have to have a certain level of skill already, because now if things don't go as planned, or maybe let me say maybe they ain't got no internet, or maybe they ain't got no electricity for whatever reason, maybe you don't got no solar, so electricity gone, and now your drone ain't working or whatever, you can't charge the battery, you still gotta go out there and maintain and manage things, you know. So yeah, I totally agree. And my boy Ray, my boy Ray in the chat stressing on this, yeah, don't kill the plants with chemicals. Look, my brother, for sure not. I could tell you, I for one, I a man, I don't use pesticides, yes, but organic pesticides solely. Neem oil is what it is used. Honestly, I'm be straight. Right now, I got from Green Fingers, which is a company here, like a landscaping company. But
Okay.
apart from that, it got a local farmer who does make like his own neem oil spray, pesticide spray for plants. So a lot of times I just get that from him. But neem oil is all organic, so you don't gotta worry about killing your plants with chemicals. We ain't doing that on this side of town, you know. I know maybe up in them places where you be, but not in my section at least. I know about. I can't talk for nobody else, but by Oliver for sure, we on the right track. Yeah, 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 yeah. We don't use none. I don't even have none of them normal pesticides and things. You know, like literally strictly neem oil, and then they have this other organic. It's like a pesticide, but really more a ruticide that I get from another farmer partner, which is all organic things. Like I could smell garlic in it, different things. Anyways, you get no sidetrack, Mary. You don't know though. Big up yourself one time. Bless. Anyways, one time too, let me say good night to my boy Clem one time in the chat. Yeah. We talking about control. Yeah, we talking about optimization. Yeah, efficiency. That's what we are talking about, really. So now we can get into the barriers and the regulations and these things. Reality check. Of course, it's not all perfect. So, what are the biggest barriers to drone adoption right now?
Uh, Cost, right? Initial cost. So, like you say, a DJI drone, one that can perform those agricultural applications, we're talking about thousands of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
if you ain't producing thousands of dollars worth of crops, then it can be it's tough for you to get a drone, right? So to speak. Training, right? That's another thing that needed to be provided as well. And the awareness is not there, right? In most places. So infrastructure, right? That's another one. Um, like you mentioned, internet connectivity, electricity, and like even GPS coverage, right? We know in order for the drones to work effectively, right, to get the most out of them, right, the infrastructure have to be in place, right, to be able to collect the data effectively.
True.
And
True. Yeah.
lastly, regulation, right? So those are based on the research, those are the front runners in terms of barriers to adoption.
So, like how you just talk about regulations, you mean government regulation?
Yeah, aviation regulations, authority regulations.
That yeah.
Yeah.
In in terms of like for those who not familiar with drones and thing, in terms of like where you could fly and where you can't fly and all those things.
Yeah. So you want me elaborate some on that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So the importance of regulation is that regulation gives you the perimeters that you could operate your drone within. This is a document that the authority will hold you accountable to. This basically gives you your guidance, your policies as to what you can do and what you can't do with your drone, right? So regulation is definitely at the forefront in terms of adoption, right? And also, I believe that regulations gives farmers an equal opportunity, even playing field, right? Because no, there's no favor. This man can get to fly he drone further than me, and so forth. This is what the regulations say. So this is what all are we going by, so to speak. So I think that regulation is, if not the most important, it's one of the most important things.
yeah. I get where you're coming from. Like a standard.
Yeah.
I feel you. So, like how you mentioned about regulations, like honestly, it came up a lot in your paper. So, why are drone laws such a big factor in whether this technology can scale?
Um, well, in terms of laws, it is it is scalable, right? And is important to keep the operations governed, right? So that's the importance of drone laws.
Yeah, because you don't want people just flying drones any and anywhere.
No.
And for me, my understanding of why they have the regulations is like they say like any and anybody could go buy a drone. Then we start there. So you don't just want somebody go buy a drone and then they flying over your house and then you in the pool relaxing and somebody over your house with a drone watching you in your pool and thing. So they have regulations to kind of like you say govern what you could do, how you could do it, where you could do it, so you don't just be all over the place doing whatever you want. Because like let's be honest, most people when it's a free for all, okay, go on. People gonna do what they want. So from your perspective, what's the danger of over regulating versus under regulating drones for agriculture?
I'll approach your question a little different in the sense that reason being under regulating, right, could expose us um, to greater risk, right? Because we probably ain't covering perimeters that is necessary, right? Over regulating now could actually constrain what a drone can do, and you probably may not be able to can utilize um, a drone to its full potential, right? So it can it can create a bigger problem, or can have the agriculture climate stagnant, right? So I think that we have to find a balance. Um, Policymakers and persons that are going to be implementing these regulations, we have to find a balance as to what we're actually trying to achieve with agriculture and drones, right? And roll out regulations that best fits what we're trying to achieve. So find the balance. Let's not under regulate and don't over regulate. Find a balance.
I like that. Life is all about balance, you know, like that, like that. So I want to bring it home a little bit, at least my home. So you a man from the Caribbean, I from the Caribbean. Based on what you study, do you see drones being practical for small island environments like St. Martin?
Yes. Um, Reason being, all that we spoke about, I think it's because the population, because of the size, is easier to control, right? When we look at the LDCs, we're talking about hundreds of square miles, thousands of square miles. That's very hard to control because who's to say that somebody that's probably beyond what the authority can see, what they're doing with their drones, right? So I think it's more practical for small islands, and I think we have an advantage in terms of controlling what persons can do with their drones. Because we have to think about it um, in this light too. In the Caribbean, tourism is one of our economic pillars, right? So on a daily basis, we see an influx of passengers coming to and from the Caribbean. These persons, they may be coming with drones, right? To do probably, let's just say, recreational activities. You have persons like yourself have a drone, probably for recreational purpose and commercial purpose as well, right? So you have now a mix of manned aircraft, right, which we will consider a real plane, and then you have
Mhm.
these unmanned aircraft, which will be drone, sharing the same airspace, right? But because now um, we can control and put these regulations in place, I think it's easier and is more practical for these drones in the Caribbean.
Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, because that's one thing for sure, which even Ray mentioned in the chat too. Most regulation is don't fly it by the airport. Yeah, that's facts, right? And yeah, that's because the plane flying, you want to be flying a drone, and then they come in contact, or God forbid, maybe it cause some type of disturbance with the plane, you know? So yeah, these is why, like how we were talking about regulations and thing, why they have these regulations to avoid people just doing whatever they want. But I agree, because especially because it's such a smaller scale, like you say, it's a little more controlled, a little more controllable, especially the airspace, because like for anybody who on here that has go on like the flight radar apps and so on, where you could see the flights, that it does be a lot of traffic in worldwide, especially when you go to like these big continents. It's like planes,
Hundreds of activity.
like crazy, crazy. You'll be thinking to yourself like, impossible. They got all of these planes in the air. Like, anyways.
But
Great
what I
point.
would say too is St. Martin actually you actually start rolling the ball because from what I was reading last year, the government had a campaign to raise awareness. I think it called Respect the Sky. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
I think I'm familiar with the term, but I
Yeah.
didn't go too much in detail checking it out. But
Yeah. So from what we're reading, that would basically to raise awareness, like I say, and let persons know to be mindful of flying your drones and refrain from flying your drones around airports. So, good job to the St. Martin civil. I think it's a civil aviation authority in St. Martin. So,
correct. Well, at least we're doing
heading in
something
the
good.
right direction. Yeah, yeah, heading in the
At
right
least we're
direction.
doing something good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but yeah, and that's a great point because even like how you say that, like okay, where I live is on more the eastern side of the island, so the airport is on the western side. So when I flew the drone at my house, I had no problems. But then when I was in Cold Bay, which is more closer to the airport, it was giving me trouble, honestly. Like the drone didn't even want to fly, and I figured it was because of regulations, because it had like some message that come up. Honestly, I didn't get too much into it. I'll be real, but
Yeah. So
yeah. So mhm.
I'll share my personal experience with a drone and just a DJI basic entry level drone. So they have this what you call geo zones, right? Meaning no fly zones for the drones. And if you have a DJI drone, right, and your drone, you're trying to fly your drone within any of those no fly zones, your props wouldn't even start spinning.
Yeah. So
You can't even take off your drone. So it also made me have an appreciation for regulations in the sense that suppliers are not just meeting a demand, right? But they're actually mindful and they're actually helping to reduce and putting us in the best situation where safety is concerned.
true. True. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, cause DJI could have just say buy it. Buy all the drones. Do what you want. But they
For,
actually have some type of regulation behind it. I agree. I agree. Well, that makes sense. And just exactly the experience you mentioned is what I experienced too. Like literally the props ain't even spin. I check in, but wait, I do something to this drone, man. But
it
then
wouldn't look
somebody
well.
self tell me they mentioned that same or geozone. I think I'd say something about that too. But anyways, to move on to the next question, I'll just say like this, like how I've been mentioning about my vision for blessed night, Carol, blessing. Like how I've been mentioning my vision for these drones, like I say, pest control, crop monitoring, even like spraying and watering and things. These realistic entry points for somebody like me?
No. And the song exciting to do, right? You want to be able to could send up your drone and start killing the iguana them and making sure that you're getting the most out of your crops. But the reason why I say no is because this bossing chemical, right, could be hazardous. And we want to ensure that you have the proper training before you could actually start this bossing chemical, right? So I would say a more realistic entry point for you would be, or anybody that's at the beginner level, will be to focus more on pest detection first, right? Focus more on crop monitoring, things of that nature.
Something was mentioned in the chat that's very interesting too. So Ray say in Europe is a big problem with drones. Now they're talking about putting an IP in a drone so that you could see who flying that drone, just in case. Which I find is that's a smart thing. Just like your computer got registered IP and thing. But to the
with
point you just
with
what are you gonna
DJI,
say?
you have to actually register your drone, and even before, I mean, we kind of jump ahead of ourselves in the sense that when you ask if it's a realistic
Yeah, yeah.
entry
So I
point
can
for
answer
you,
that still. I can answer
but
that still.
yeah, you gotta get your licenses and all them kind of good stuff still to use the drone at that commercial level. So it ain't just you going on DJI app, adding one, and then you're sending this up. You know what I mean? So like I said, you gotta go through that training first. We gotta make sure that you're ready before we actually start integrating that drone into the airspace.
Mhm. True. And I could say for me personal, my personal thought process, I of course have in mind that I gonna have to acquaint myself with it, once I get it, do some level of training, especially for this and to this kind type of caliber. Because thing to say, just like one of these normal mini 4K drones is like a
Right.
size, got some size. So, like you say, you're gonna have to learn, get a little training on how to use it. And I would believe DJI probably got some type of training program when you buy it that you could follow. But like you say, with anything, you buy something new, you should read the manual. You check. And I was one of those guys. Cause like I said, I was a IT technician. So sometimes I gotta install things I never even see before. But you make it do. You go read up on it, read the manual, see how it work in, see how to install it, and you make it happen. And to lastly, to add to what you say, knowing how, let me say, technology, IT, drones, these things will work, I would believe that it can have a level of like configuration when you just get it. Meaning, like, when you just buy a computer, you gotta personalize it. You gotta sign into your email, you gotta add your content and maybe change your background and these things. So it's the same thing. Like my belief. When I buy the drone, let me say after I done do the training and thing, I know how to use my drone now. I know how to schedule it, how to do everything. Good, we up to the time. Still, like you say, the first thing I gonna have to do still is like have it like fly around in my farm, so like kind of map the area as they say probably would be the proper terminology, but like kind of just launch it and have it like go around the area I wanted to surveil and let me say disperse chemicals or liquids and so on. So I would be leaving. I have to map the area first to know where you want it to fly, especially if you can have it scheduled and not like you manning it, like you controlling it. You can probably have to map it first and thing. So you would say a smart use case for agri and entrepreneur to explore drone technology. First use case to start would be maybe just monitoring.
Yep. Crop monitoring, early pest detection, um, probably looking at potential crop yields, things of that nature. Know this boss in that force.
So things that it just watching. If you well,
Surveillance kind of stuff.
yeah, program it like a GPS. Correct, correct, Rick. Uh, so if we fast forward 5 years, how do you see drones changing agriculture globally?
So good. Well, I think even before we could get to 5 years, we got look at sustainability of the drones and the operations. So I think before we could get to the 5 years, also we gotta look at the safety record. Right? So we ain't reached the 5 years yet. We gotta ensure that we gotta ensure that the drones are being integrated into this airspace. We're being safe with it, and we're being responsibly. We're flying them responsibly. And once that's happening, then I can see drones being around further than 5 years, right? Actually, advancing agricultural productivity where we could be more reliant on exporting and less reliant on importing.
I like it. Even like this conversation got me thinking about, like, imagine, let me say me, I have agriculture business, I got my farm, and let me say by one of the close neighboring islands, I get an order, and I could like send my drone as a delivery drone now too from my island to another neighboring island. All these things would be cool potential. But like you say, we have to now go through the safety and this initial incubation stage that we see, because yeah, like I say, maybe it's me, maybe I just a visionary, my mind is just go far, but I know for sure that's something that they're doing in the States though. Like Amazon and certain of those delivery companies, they're working on using drones to deliver packages, whether food or your items that you order. So if they could start doing that, and eventually
No,
to reach
and
the
you're absolutely right. But do you know where that some of that actually stem from, or I should say originate from? The idea of doing that, like delivering
yeah,
packages,
yeah,
the pandemic, COVID.
yeah, can nobody can move.
Yeah, and you don't want exposed person. So you're actually right. Yeah, Amazon and different companies exploring options and using drones to
Okay.
deliver, like you say, packages.
Walmart will start delivering with drones this year. Okay, good. So we see it here right there in the chat. You see it for yourself. But I like that too. And that goes back to what you say too, in that we gotta see and make sure it's safe and that it get introduced into the airspace and it don't have no drastic situations occur, while it doing that. So now, like even like how we mentioned Walmart doing it, that's like introducing it. So now when we see how that work with that, once it go well, then we could say, okay, we could advance it, we could expand on that and thing.
Yeah, and you kind of touch um, on another topic, and this is for another episode. But we talk a bit about this flying advanced air mobility,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So
yes,
that's on the
yes.
horizon. That's on the horizon for the aviation industry as well, where you can actually see air taxis, um, things of that nature actually happening. So your vision align with aviation vision, right? So I don't know. It might be a place for you in aviation.
Yeah, you never know. Well, all about a visionary, Like my the say Maarten past prime minister used to say, need a helicopter view. But yeah, really, really good stuff. So I'll ask you, what advice would you give young people studying agriculture, tech, or aviation who want to work at this intersection?
Um, I would say don't be afraid to push the boundaries. Don't be afraid to break barriers. Don't be afraid to think outside the box, right? Learn the technology, right? Look at what's happening, look at where the industry is going, and see how you can contribute um, towards those goals.
Right. And that's true. Don't just be status quo. Be breaking barriers. Yeah, 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 I like that. So, if listeners had to take one key idea from your research, what should it be?
That drones are not necessarily just a luxury tool. Drones can be used to optimize, to make agriculture operations more efficient um, and resilient.
What? Look who, my girl Oracle in the chat. Yes, sir. Blessings, welcome, Oracle. I love that. I love that. I love that, bro. I love that self. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
facts. Facts. Most people might feel it's just enjoy. Yeah, you take a picture, you take a nice video, but they're actually doing things.
yeah.
They're monitoring things. Even like, I don't know if I'd mentioned to you, but here in St. Martin, a friend of mine who works at the cadastre, which I don't know if you're familiar with the cadastre, but
No,
is
what's that?
a figure. It's like the land surveyor here and
Okay.
St. Martin, so that's the name of it. And yeah, a friend of mine who works there, he let me to know that they've been doing training recently too on using drones for like land surveying as well. So they like mapping out plots of land and all these things using drones right here in St. Martin. So yeah, we're doing things. And I really like that advice that you shared.
And I'll probably rewind a bit on that because now reflecting, I'll probably want to split the answer in two. Right? I'll probably give a personal from a personal point of view, and I'll give from a career perspective. So, from a personal perspective, um, and it ain't just necessarily have to be aviation or agriculture, but in general, right? Positive mindset, right? First thing foremost, um, and become comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And what I mean by that is, I just share a personal experience. I know my mother probably listening. She never heard this before. Um, when I decided to do my masters and I got here, um, I didn't have nowhere to stay. Didn't know anyone, no means of transportation, right? But I had the power of will, and I was comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So from a personal perspective, that's one advice I'll give to students or anyone, right? From a career perspective, whatever that career path may be, I would say look for the gaps and the voids that needs to be filled, right? And see how much you can contribute to the problems that may come with filling those gaps and those voids. And I think tying those two together may put you on the right path.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Totally agree. So my last question is my closing question for yourself. For farmer, policymaker, entrepreneur, anybody is listening right now and thinking, this sounds powerful, but where do I start? What would you tell them?
Start small, right? Look at the problems that drones can help with. Look at the problems that they address. Um, Learn the regulations, um, build partnerships, and like, step by step, I think you'll figure it out, and set you on the right path. So start small, look at identify the problems, like I mentioned earlier, fill the gaps, fill the voids, and I think positive mindset, you'll figure it out.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that. So, well, like I said, that was my last question. I don't know if anybody in the chat have any questions. I got some people here with us still, you know.
Only you could see the chat though, or I probably know to access the chat.
You can see it. They should have
I
a
think
section saying comments. If not,
I
I'll
think I
just
I think I mess up something. Okay.
you could, you could.
Q&A section.
Mal. But nah, I have to tell you for sure before anything, whether anybody asks anything and anything, I have to tell you first of all, thank yourself. I appreciate you, and for sure, I have to tell you, very insightful. You really got. I don't know about nobody else watching, but me for sure, my brain's running. Like right now, I check in. DJ, I need to give you a job right now. Like, yeah, they gotta come. Somebody gotta come and get you quick because nah, for real, bro. Like really good stuff and a great topic. And like you say, just what you just say, fill in the gaps. You know, this is a gap you filled. You saw, whereas this was an important topic, something that needed a solution, a problem that needed a solution, and I'll say you came with a good solution. You know, so even me, like I say, I hear thinking for myself, like, why this paper should be shared with our policymakers here in St. Martin and tell them, like, look a nice viable option for us to advance agriculture in St. Martin. Yes, this is about other least developing countries, but understand, like you say, identify the problems you have for yourself, and especially if you see that they shared, mutually shared with these other ones in these least developed countries, we should be looking into these type of solution. Period. For me, I tell you, you done got already. I on this run.
And that was the idea behind of like selecting the LDCs because, like I said, I felt when I did the research, I felt that the problems that um, they have was similar to what we were experiencing in the Caribbean region, right? And these practices I felt could be adapted in our Caribbean region. So although it's focusing on LDCs, right, I know that this paper could propel our agricultural productivity.
Yeah, so I had to bring up this one for you. You know, Simmer 2012. Big up yourself, Devon. I know to be was one of your brethrens them. Check. Must be,
Big
must
up
be.
Sim Simmer 2012.
Oh no. Blessing, blessing. That's love, man. That's love. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's good stuff. That's much appreciated. And yeah, like I say, if anybody in the chat and you got any questions, you could send questions. But if you want to send big ups, if you want to send any, thank you, congratulations, anything, yeah, feel free. We still here for a couple more minutes. This is the wrap up, though. Just letting the interview done. So now it's Q&A. If you want to get a little Q in, but just now, yeah, we signing off just now.
And
So that's why I gotta really show you much appreciation, bro, for taking the time out to jump on. And like I said, very insightful. And I think like we had a lot of questions. We had a good bit of people on. So I feel something should bubble. Some part probably bubbling somewhere. And we should see something come out of it. And like I tell you, if nothing else, wait till you see Alaba with a drone for agriculture specifically. No, because like we talk the expensive, yeah, the expensive bad, but I think
Yeah.
I want to give a number now, but I think that's too low still.
No man, you
Oh,
could give an. We talking about tens of thousands. I actually went on
I was gonna say I
a
think
few
like
days
I
ago.
was gonna say I think
Yeah,
like
it depends.
2 to 3, man, but
Nah, man, tens. I mean, it depends on where you're getting, and then if you're gonna
I
get all
mean
the
I was
bells and
looking at like the base, man. You check,
you're talking
but
about like a DJI, like a mini 4K.
no, not a thing. They don't have mini 4K
With,
size for that. It's bigger for sure.
mm,
But I was looking at the smallest one. I here checking it quick while we are.
okay. And I just want to leave my contact in case anybody may want to reach out to me outside of this platform. You could reach me at my email, first and last name at gmail.com. So feel
That's
free to reach out to me, and we could chat and we could connect. And yeah,
that's good. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll
post
leave
it.
the look at this one. I love it. I love
You
it.
see
I
my
love it. I love
you see
it.
my mother there.
That is it. That is it. Love alone, moms. Love alone. Self. Super proud of you, son. That is it. I ain't gonna lie. You're doing good work. We here doing God's work self today. Yeah. They say I believe more in the NGOs, not in governors and policy makers. We just got to start and do. I feel you. I feel yourself. Oracle say I'm very impressed. I appreciate you. Look, Oracle is like a second mother to me. Let me just say
Okay,
that. Real
okay,
woman of wisdom. You check?
okay,
Yeah. Anyways, I pull up DJI agriculture drone starting price. That what I type in. And the lowest number I seen here is 9,646 euros. But as the
upwards.
T100, the T50
Yeah.
supposed to be smaller.
And another brand that
What?
you could look at as well too is Hyleo, right? So they does actually have the tanks that you could put your water in, your chemicals, whatever, your fertilizer, whatever that may be. So you have DJI and you have Hyleo AG272. You could take a look at those as well. Or anybody that may want to check them out. The DJI Argas, and that's spelled ARGAS. And then you have the Hyleo HYLIO AG or AC 272. Those are two types that you could look at. Anybody that interested in purchasing a drone or reading up more on them or whatever the case may be.
I can check them out. I can check them out for sure. And yeah, anybody interested, I'd still going to put your email in the chat.
First and last name at gmail.com.
Yeah, right. No point, no period or nothing in between. That's straight.
Yeah, all together.
So I got it. Yeah. And I want to bring this up. Miss Anika Bow said, Mr. Mercury, thank you for your insights and words of wisdom for our Caribbean future. Totally agree. I second that statement. And then I'll say lastly, so this will be the last question I'll take. But you want I to leave, congratulations still, but last question I gotta take. And this one is geared to me. So the question is, what is your honest expectation for SXM youth future according to your vision? Now, this is the broad question. I could answer this specific to agriculture or just in general. If I had to say specific to agriculture, I believe and my vision is we can get our youths more involved in agriculture We just have to show them the benefits and show them it in a way that looks, how to say, attractive, looks interesting, looks fun. So I got this line, I think the minister does say self, she said we gotta make agriculture sexy, which I feel, you gotta make it something attractive for people, something that people want to do, want to get into. And
But I think, not cutting you off, but I think that's what drone does. I think
good,
because of
good. So
drone,
so this is the
because
segue I
is
coming into.
easier. Yeah, yeah, it's easier for a youth man to want to say, or for easier for a youth man to say, but he ain't going to shovel or going to walk through no hot sun, or he ain't going to do this and do that. But with AI and with drones, right, it gives them opportunity now to actually tap into something that he might be more interested in,
Good.
right? And
Yes.
also too, um, it creates economic opportunities because remember this, drones are systems. Systems fail, right? So who can fix
Somebody
them?
gotta come fix it. Yep.
Who can fix them? And then also too, it stimulates their mind in terms of engineering, right? Um, these software that are going to be used for the agriculture applications, you need somebody to develop them, right? You need somebody to actually make these drones, make the PCs, right? So just to kind of support your answer a bit.
Yeah, facts. And all of that is true, and all of that is opportunity that would come as a offshoot of these advancements. And to tie that in, I was self going to say, like, let's be honest, most youth, they would more resonate towards, okay, I can sit down and fiddle with a drone, mess around with the remote and see how it working, as opposed to, like you say, pick up a shovel, say, yeah, I can go dig a hole and plant a tree. So even self and say Maarten too, they've been trying to promote hydroponic more too. And all of that, I self agree that is another option that could make it a little more attractive to the younger generation, because it's like you say, instead of having to go out in the hot sun, digging hole, tilling, checking soil, all these things, it a little more technical. So now the younger generation, we gotta realize, the older generation gotta realize we grew up in a more technological era. So our mind now more, they resonate more to those type of things. Let me just say to like that. Like, not to say like we ain't gonna go do those other work, but we quicker go to something that more technical, something that you gotta figure out problem solve. So even me right now, setting up my hydroponic system, you know how much people come by me and they checking, wow, you doing that? I could do that too. Like inspiration. And it's like, okay, yeah, man, I gotta really get this online, because that there could really be what push people in this direction. Because honestly, it's nothing hard. You take couple plastic, PVC pipe, bore some hole in it, you get a reservoir, you run some pipe, you make a circulating system, and you plant your plants. You put some nutrients. So it's simple, and it's something that would get them into it for sure. Additionally, moving off for agriculture, and St. Martin, most of the youths them like ride bike. They've been talking about, yeah, they're going to build a drag strip, and they're going to build like a place where man them could, and do the thing, those type of activities. They ain't doing it. I personally feel they should, because you can get them off the road, popping all over the place, which, yeah, you might still have some doing it, but at least they have somewhere else they could go and free up. Because I understand it. A lot of these younger boys, they ain't got nothing to do. So that is the main problem. Idle. You ain't got nothing to do, and the things them that people come in to tell you to do, you don't really want to do that. That ain't attractive to you. So what you like to do, sit down, chill with your boys, ride bike. That's exciting. So if we see like, okay, that's what exciting them, Let we embrace that. Let we give them a safe place to do that. Somewhere where, okay, instead of them being on the road, on the block, on the street, they can go here and do it. You check? And now you start developing different things like that, and they got so much different sectors in let me say economy that could develop, that could give people a outlet, a way to go, a direction. But bottom line, our main problem here in St. Martin is idleness, and that ain't just for the youths, but it starts with good direction. Like you say, you gotta start somewhere. You gotta start thinking, okay, what's the problem? How can I be the one to solve it and contribute? What can I contribute? Whether it be fun or work, something gotta contribute, else you ain't doing nothing in life. So that being said, I going to close off.
But before we
And
close off, before we
I was
conclude,
going to say, if you have any final words,
before we conclude, um, I want you to know that you are inspiration to the youths, and um, every now and again I'll drop in occasionally, and I'll listen to the pod when I could. And one thing that stood out for me, well, a number of things that stood out, was your dedication and your commitment to coming on every Monday. Because every Monday I don't know if anybody's getting a notification, but every Monday I get a notification. Um,
faithfully.
you're about to go live, right? And even on your board day, I
Mhm.
see that you went live. So that speaks
Mhm.
volumes as to how much this actually means to you, not because it's just yours, but you actually want to empower um, persons, right? In terms of finding your path, setting goals and things of that nature. So I'm gonna give you some flowers now. I know when all over you turn one, we can pop champagne and we can do all that good stuff. But I can give you some of your flowers now, right? And tell you to continue doing, like you said, God's work and God's favor. And I appreciate you for allowing me to come on this podcast and share the little that I know, right? And if anybody know me, they know that you take me out of my comfort zone today. So thanks for giving me the opportunity. To the virtual audience, thanks for listening in. I hope that you were able to take something away from this, get some insightful information. Um, and yeah, like I say, if you want to reach out to me outside of this, you can reach me at my email, first and last name at gmail.com.
Yes, I bring up the email,
Cool.
but you don't know, brother. Blessings and love, love alone. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate you for coming on. Honestly, some people might not know, but from May last year, we talk about this interview.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
And
come
they come.
here to St. Martin, here by my house, and even that is God plan, God's divine intervention that always prevail. And because rightfully I was away when he come, and I come back, and we get to link exactly on the day when he was going, and we talk, and he say, look, I doing this paper, and when I done, I want to come on your podcast. And look, we here now today. So that's God's power speaking. And like I say, bro, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for what you say. I appreciate the flowers. I appreciate the love, the support. That's love, bro. It's love alone. And like you say about my body, look, like I tell him, if I ain't miss my body, look, the most detrimental thing that happened in my life most recently, I come on that day. When my father passed, I still come on this podcast tonight. The same day, November 10th, Monday, November 10th, the night I come on still. So I check in straight up. If I could do that, nothing stopping me again. Nothing stopping we again. We on the roll. We moving. Check. So It's foot on the gas, like I always tell you. I am staying consistent. And as you see, as I you here, my consistency is recognized. But yeah, like I said, my brother, in love alone, I appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I could say. Love alone, my people. I appreciate you for joining. And yeah, consistency. I hear every Monday. Yet, like he say, when they reach a year, which going to be this May coming, man, we popping champagne in here. I had a party for my body here live. People outside partying and I in here with you. So guess what? We're
I
going to
hear the
have the
music.
party on live. Yeah, we're going to pop the champagne. We're going to cut the
Yeah.
cake and celebrate. Yeah. Love. Yeah, man. Love. You see, look. Oracle tell you facts. I was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't know. Love alone. Like I say, doing God's work. That's what I say. But I don't know if you have any last words you want to leave us with finally. But if you do, be so kind. If not, this is it, my people.
No, I was just like to tell to the All Over It podcast family and those probably viewing for the first time to continue to support what you have going on. Um, I mean, it's over 10 years now we rocking, right? Since
Yeah,
Flomo days, right?
yeah,
So they say a no thing. And I mean, like man, you say offline 10 years ago, I didn't think we would have been here sitting doing a pod,
facts,
right? So
facts.
just continue to support what you're doing, and wish you nothing but the best to come.
Appreciates itself, bro. And
And to everybody
likewise,
out there, also be safe.
I wish you all the best. Likewise, my brother. Everybody tuning in, listening to the sound of our voice. Blessings and love, blessings and prosperity, especially onwards for this 2026. And you don't know, bro. Like I tell you, if I need the info, reach out to my boy. Like I tell you, put in a petition to DJI that they need to hire he. Somebody need to come pick up my bike quick because knowledge. And like I always just say, every week I hear, you could catch me here, right here on the All Over It podcast every week. And I promise you, it's value every week, every time I behind this screen, straight up. So lastly, I can just show you blessing to you both, young men, continue to make
Thanks,
us
mom.
proud. Love. Like I say, we're doing God's work. I have a blessed one onwards and catch me here next week and probably catch my bike Devon back again sometime soon.
Until next time.
Okay, good. Blessings and love, my people. Love
All
alone.
right.